You can already do this, but now all of you out there can learn to swirl your hips in a figure eight.
And it won't just improve your love life,
Really?
but your golf and tennis game as well, which is equally important, if you ask me. Check out the latest thing in fitness, the 8Board. The movement looks a little strange, but these pro athletes say it's made a world of difference in their performance. For golf pro Russ Fraser,
it's increased my distance up to 60 yards.
For retired Olympic volleyball player Liz Masakayak,
saves your shoulder, saves my knees.
This contraption, called the 8Board, tennis pro Jack Brody invented it to help give his students a competitive edge.
It cuts the learning curve of learning sports by 10 times.
Jack says swivels are the key. They force your hips to do a figure eight motion, something top players often do instinctively.
You learn the movement to make.
And once you do,
you create a center point. You now can learn to rotate about your own center point perfectly.
And with a more stable and fluid center, you require less power from your limbs.
This has helped me become aware of how I can use the biggest muscles and the bigger part of my body in order to save my knees.
A friend of mine called me and he said, there's two gentlemen and I've seen all their juniors, and you know, the one thing about all their juniors is they're great. They've got really smooth strokes and they have this device, and I think you should come out and check it out. So I went over and there was the 8Board, and I got one, tried it out, and couldn't believe what a difference it made in the amount of power I was seeing in my game after about 3 weeks.
I can feel more confident during a match if I start to lose or if I start to feel a little shaky on a stroke or something like that. I just picture on my mind what I'm doing, what I do on the 8Board in practice and before matches.
Camera, and you'll be fine. There it is. Stretch out to the camera. That's right. Pull your feet. Pull. You pull your feet and stretch to the camera. That's a better hit.
I think with the 8Board, what it can provide me is I can practice at home during those times when I'm not able to play for whatever reason. So when I come back, my learning curve will be, you know, right where I left off.
Develops the idea of continuous motion, where you're not stopping and starting as you move from one side to the other. You're really moving in a continuous form. And by doing that, you remain in a state of dynamic balance.
I've been able to do more because I can learn more in a few minutes with the 8Board than I can with hours of practice.
There's a lot of power generated from the feet. When the feet are planted firmly on the ground and the motion of the hips and the legs are generating the power, that's where we get a lot of the speed in our golf swing. So you watch the professionals, you'll notice that their lower body and their knees and their hips and legs are making this move. You watch an amateur golfer and you won't see that as much. You'll see more of this, more upper body. So this movement of the hips and the legs actually generates the power. And that's basically what dynamic balance is. Dynamic balance is staying centered while you're moving.
In a lot of the skills in volleyball, you have to get behind the ball, mostly with your hips, and your hips guide your arms, as what the 8Board does, is it initiates your move through your hips and then your limbs follow. So I think one of the reasons that it's good is that the ball comes so fast, it's really hard to move your feet and get behind every single ball and get the ball right in the middle. So you have to be able to have a way to come out and get the ball this way. It's kind of like being on the 8Board. Or even just like any sport that's throwing a ball, it's the same thing as spiking or serving, when you go up and do this. And so it helps initiate the move from your hips, which is where your power comes from.
The 8Board's great for almost all sports. It's great for golf, tennis, baseball, skiing, surfing, snowboarding, anything where you have to utilize dynamic balance, which is balance in motion, which is almost all sports.
The principle of the 8Board really is that by creating a center axis as you stand on both swivels, you learn an idea of balance and centering and how to move around and negotiate your body around a center point in order to keep your whole body connected.
Just this last semester, you know, I actually didn't know he was using it as much as he was using it. He came to my house on Christmas Eve and he said, "Hey, I need an 8-board. I left ours at the team room." And I said, "Oh, okay." And he goes, "Yeah, I've been using it every night the whole semester." He said, "Except for 3 weeks when I played terrible." So this player, Drew, he took it to the next level, and he really had one of the best falls of anyone on our team. So I really like it. I've used it in tennis, and it's actually helped my golf game a little when I twice a year. But I've been a big fan of it and stayed with it for 4 years. So I have a lot of praise for it.
Beginners of all ages can learn to play tennis almost immediately with the 8-board system. It's the easiest way to cut the learning curve in half and get right into the flow of the game. 8-board beginners enjoy hitting smooth strokes within their first hours of practice time, and 8-boarders keep improving, unlike most club players who get stuck at a mediocre level. Because the 8-board system trains a player to use their entire body, our players enjoy their games with less stress and strain. Swiveling on the 8-board gives everyone a new sense of balance, rhythm, and confidence. Now here's a gentleman who waited 1 year for his 8-board.
The reason that I came today, okay, was I was here last year. I got on the boards, tried it out, and it just worked so well for me. I went, and for 6 to 8 weeks after this tennis fest, I served so well. I could hit corners, I had accuracy, I had power. And then my body forgot how to coil and move, and I just lost it. So then I became a typical average server again. Once in a while I'd hit a good shot, and it was just like that.
It really is amazing.
It really, you know, we were on that side last year. You said, "Hey, just move up," and you go, and there was just this beam that went off in my head. And so that's why I came this year, hoping that you would be here, that I could end up buying one of these and get that feeling back again and work it through.
Rick, thank you very much.
Well, how many times have you heard coaches say it's all in the hips? As Stephen Luke shows us, a San Diego business is tapping into that age-old philosophy with a brand new product.
We like to call this figure 8 movement the mother form of all movement because...
As head tennis pro at the Aviara Four Seasons, Jack Brody is always looking for new ways to make that same old point.
And this is where all your sports emanate from, you know, the center out.
So 2 years ago, he and a partner developed this, a small board with rotating platforms that teaches the body and mind how to best learn center of gravity. They call it the 8-board.
You can test your balance, you can do things like that, and really feel that you've got your balance and equilibrium together, and it's a coordination device.
One reason Brody thinks the 8-board will be such a success is the universal appeal. No matter what the sport, it's all about the hips.
Getting on the 8-board makes that movement available, or actually you'll find out what's not available for you to function properly from your core.
Liz Masakayan, a professional beach volleyball player, says it helps her prevent injuries. And former Padres pitcher Matt Whiteside wishes he'd been using it all along.
Being able to, you know, tie in your hips and shoulders together where everything works as one part, and it just makes you become more efficient, more powerful, and you know, develops more speed towards the plate.
But surprisingly, you might find it most effective in a sport, well, let's face it, we could all use a little help in, golf.
You'll see this in amateur golf swings. A lot of movement, a lot of this. It's called lateral movement. As soon as you get on the board, you can't do that. You have to stay centered.
It won't be one of San Diego's best-kept secrets for long. Brody thinks he's standing on the training tool of the future. He might just be standing on a gold mine. In San Diego, Stephen Luke, NBC 739.